welcome to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. No jetways needed here. This is one of those really cool little, I think this was a freeware airport that we got a while back. And if you look down in the distance, let's see if we could pick this up just a little bit here. You see our brand new ride here. It is the 737 MAX from iFly. It's been out for a while. I've really enjoyed this airplane. It has been an awful lot of fun to learn the differences between, you know, the old 737s and the Maxes and all. Sadly, I haven't been able to get those really cool loaders to work, but we've got stairs in the airplane too. Hello there, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. My name is Dave. I do the spy flights over on Twitch. Every now and then like to come on over here to YouTube and do a cold and dark flight. This is a complete flight. Haven't turned on one switch on the airplane just so that you can see what it is that I'm doing in the sim to try and help you get going on these amazing airplanes that we have here. So cold and dark, that means every switch you're going to see. Now the whole goal of this is to show you how to make the airplane work in the sim. I've got a private pilot's license, that's about it, and most of the time I do flying in flight simulator. So this is not about the right way versus the wrong way, the real world or anything. This is what works in the simulator the day that I'm recording this. Yep, we're probably going to be getting an update before too long. But if you, you know, the airplane flies very nicely. It's a stable airplane and it is a lot of fun. We're in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where United Airlines does take 737s all the way down to Denver. This is going to be a fairly quick flight for us today. So let's go ahead and what are we looking at? There we go. There's the airplane again. So let's go on in, and what I've got here is the airplane at the gate. Haven't plugged in anything yet, so let's hop in the plane. You can't do anything outside the airplane. You have to go inside the airplane to open doors and stuff. So if you like the immersion of walking up the jetway or the stairs or something, you got to come and flip a couple of buttons here. The airplane is, like I said, it is completely off right now. Just like the real pilots, I like to make sure that everything is moving correctly. So I'm going to just go ahead and move my sim controls here. The other thing I'll do is make sure that the flaps are down, the speed brakes are down, the flaps are up, and that my gear lever is in the correct place too. Okay, we've got that. If you look down here, you see that the parking brake is on. The real-world pilots also make a real big deal out of telling you the one thing they also want you to check when you power up the airplane is the wiper blades. Make sure that the switches are in the park position. I'm assuming that that's to avoid damaging the windshield, just to have them start moving around or something like that. Or, you know, passengers don't want to see the things just flapping back and forth. I don't know. Okay, let's jump on in. I have done the flight plan. It is, I did the standard flight plan out of SimBrief today. These are my flight notes. Look in the description below, and you can copy and paste this into Notepad. The real world flight departs from gate 5. We're going to go to gate Bravo 17 at Denver International Airport. I have also gone and taken the flight plan, and I've gone here into Navigraph, and I have a stack of charts based on our arrival. So one of the things that's really cool, not a lot of people know about, in Navigraph, if you're in just the general map mode right now, you start zooming into your little airplane if you're tracking, zoom, and you get a really nice airport map here with you know, parking stands and gates and taxiway lines. So zoom your Navigraph map all the way in, and that's where you're going to find the really cool data there. Okay, ready? Step 1. Come on over here to the electronic flight flag, hit the power button. And the first thing that I've been doing lately is there is a little bit of confusion between liveries and stuff like that in the airplanes between pounds and kilograms, kilos. So I'm going to go to the system page first. I'm going to go to application preferences, and we're going to look and see it says pounds. I'm going to switch to pounds. I'm going to go degrees Celsius, speed for wind speed is knots, distance is feet, height is feet, and everything else. I'm going to hit save. After that, we're done. And so that should do it. I'm going to go back in there and just look and see. All right, it's good. Menu. So now what we'll do is go to the system page again and go back a page and go back. And we're going to go to, well, system page. Come on. Application preferences. Don't do restart. Let's try sim menu. That's it. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so let's see. Ground support. Let's come on in here. We're going to need an electric truck. So we're going to pop that in. Now let's go to the next page. Page down. Forward air stair. Let's get some stairs going for the passengers. That's probably good enough. Let's go page up here. We've got our chocks in place, and I'm going to set those. Now that we've got some stairs in place, we'll go back, we'll go to doors, and we're going to open up the left entry door. And if you come over here, you can see the doors open. Now, you don't have to do this. You just need ground power, okay? This just adds a little bit of immersion if you'd like to have your door open. And that should be good for getting aboard the plane, okay? All right, so now that we've done that, really, we're all set and ready to go. So we're going to go back to the menu. The next thing we'll probably be doing is the performance page. So we'll just leave that there. Okay. Let's go ahead and start flipping on the airplane. It is a 737. So battery goes on first. It will automatically guard the switches for you in this airplane. I think that's pretty cool. And almost every switch that I've found, you can control with the little mouse wheel, you know, the little thumb wheel on your mouse. You can move a switch up and move it down. It's really nice. We're going to go ahead and come on over here, and we're going to get ground power on. Ground power, I'm going to do no smoking off, and it's not no smoking. It's this is, I'll explain this when we get in there. But no smoking off, fasten seatbelts. Go back to the cabin. Smoking lights are on all the time. We're going to arm the emergency exit lights and watch as it guards itself. Let's go down here. We're going to go to steady in position. Strobe and steady. We're going to go just to steady right now. Also, turn on the wheel well lights. Apparently it's pretty dark down there and ground crew needs to get in there. So this is just a nice thing to do for ground crew. Okay, we don't need to worry about pressurization right now, but we're going to make sure the packs are off. We're going to see that the recirculating fans are on. We're going to go all the way up here, and we're going to turn on the window heaters. And then let's go up here a little bit more, and we're going to do our navigation. The IRSs, both left and right, go to nav. So align, and on DC works for you there. Next thing to do is we'll kind of look over here. We'll leave the yaw dampers off. You could do check out the batteries if you'd like. You could also look at your ground power and monitor the power if you'd like to do that. We need to turn on cabin utilities and the in-flight entertainment system. And let's see, let's go ahead and we're going to turn on a fuel pump. We're going to get the left forward fuel pump on. And with that, we're going to come down, flip on the APU. APU's coming on up, and our airplane is coming to life. Okay, coming over here, I'm going to do that master caution light. That's going to pop on all, no matter what. And while everything is kind of powering up, I'm going to give the airplane a few seconds to think. And I'm going to come down here and turn up my master panel brightness. This is the backlighting on the panel. I'm going to do a click on background and flight director system. The autopilot, I'm going to turn those up 1. I'm going to turn these down to about halfway. So these are the screens here. I just find it a little bit easier to see all of this. See the numbers. If it's too bright, the numbers start to blaze a little bit, and that's not good. Coming on down here, we're going to go and do panel lighting down here. I usually turn it up to about half, and 1 click of the floodlight, and everything's looking good. What a cool little airplane. All right, flight management computer time, FMC. And we'll start with the ident. We've got our latest nav data. Nav data on for me is going to expire on November 28th of 2024. And after that, we'll do our position initialization. We are at Jackson Hole, Wyoming, KJAC. Jackson Hole. And doesn't like that. Yes, I know. We'll enter the IRS position. KJAC, Jackson Hole. We are at gate 5. Oh, not in the database. Not every gate is in the database. Next page. Let's grab a GPS position, put that in the scratch pad. Go to previous page. Compare your GPS position with either your airport or your gate position. They should be relatively close, and pop that into the IRS boxes. And from there, we're going to come over here. JAC, Jackson Hole, is there for the origin. Now, you can request a flight plan, and it will go to SimBrief and get it. Half the time I'm flying this, I request a flight plan, The other half I put it in manually because by requesting the flight plan all the time, I'm forgetting how to put in a flight plan. And if you've got to go and put something in, you know, you get a reroute or something, you get another waypoint that ATC tells you to go to, you got to remember how to do this. So we're going to Denver, KDEN, Denver International Airport. We are United Airlines, Flight 441, and we're going to come over there. Next thing is I'm going to do is we're going to go to departure and arrival. And departure and arrival, our departure is going to be off of runway 1. We are not doing any of these SIDs, so it's just going to be runway 1. Now we're going back to the route and page 2. Doesn't have any waypoints in, so looking at the flight plan, this is page 3 on the Lido style of chart of flight plan that I get. Page 2, actually. I know, page 2. We're going to go KICNE, TOFUU, and the Flatiron arrival. Okay, so let's come on over here. So the first one is KICNE, KICNE. K-I-C-N-E. I spell it out loud for myself as I'm putting it in there. Then the next one is going to be TOFUU, T-O-F-U-U. T-O-F-U-U. Guess what? Flight plan's done. That's it. It's really, most of the flight plans are simple like this. Back to departure and arrival. Our arrival today, sim brief says 16 left. That's what the real world's doing. We're going to do the Flatiron 4 arrival via TOFUU. And then I don't remember Kaylee Kipper. I think it's Tishner, but I always like to make sure. So come on over here to the Flatiron 4 arrival. And over here, that's Tishner. This is for the 16s. So, yep, it was Tishner. Always good to check, though. So, Tishner. And there we go. Back to the route. Back to page 2. KICNE, TOFUU, Tishner, Leeds, runway 16 left. So, there is our nice little route. I'm going to activate it. I'm not going to execute it yet. Okay, we do have the APU up and running, so we're going to come over here and turn on the APU bleed. And we're going to turn on some packs, make the airplane comfy for the passengers. Because, you know, comfy for the passengers is good, right? And we'll just leave all of this alone for a little bit. Now then, it's time to go and start doing some stuff with the flight management. Nope, we got one more thing to do here. Performance in it. All right. So apparently they call this the backwards horseshoe or something like that as you're putting in the data for this. So start with your flight plan over on page 1. You're going to need your cost index. You're going to need your cruise altitude, average winds, and the ISA deviation. That's a temperature deviation. And I'm a little resentful about there being a temperature deviation because the only thing deviant in this video is my sense of humor. All right, 60. Thank you for coming in. The coffee was particularly good at Spy HQ today. Reserves today. Oh, that's another one we're going to need. The reserves, they're down here. Final reserve and alternate fuel is 44,241. Let's see. We are in pounds, and my flight plan's in pounds too, so that's good to make sure. Okay, so it's going to be 4.2. 4.2. Our zero fuel weight. Okay, this is a big number, zero fuel weight for the flight. So basically we're going to decimalize this. That's my word for it. We're going to decimalize this. And so basically the first 3 numbers to the right, after the first 3 numbers, you put your decimal in and put in a number. In this case, it's going to be 130. And the real Boeing pilots say always, you know, average up a little bit on this one. So I'm going to go 130.1 on this. So our zero fuel weight is 130.1. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. Let's do that for now. And that also does your gross weight. Cruise altitude, 37,000 feet, flight level 370. Cruise winds, it's 257 at 43, 257/43. That goes in there. And our ISA deviation right now says plus 2 degrees. So just 2, if it's a minus, you'd put a minus in there. And there we go. Now I'm going to go and hit that execute button for the moment. And everything's looking good here. We've got the APU up and running. I'm leaving the ground power, so the generators are providing the electricity. The APU is doing the air conditioning, because I don't think that they have ground air conditioning and heating and stuff like that here. So they're going to have you run the APU to make the cabin comfy for the customers. Okay, next step in the process, we're going to come on over and do weight and balance. Now, we've already checked to see, is this airplane in pounds? So a way to look at that is go to the cargo tab and see it says LB pounds. So yeah, the EFB, electronic flight bag here, the iPad, this is in pounds. Page 3 is our first piece of data here in the Lido style of flight plan chart, and our number of passengers is 129. So in the total, click it, and then on the pad down here, 129, and then click the word total. And then that's going to go and distribute your passengers for you. Okay, and you can also check the zero fuel weight, 124.5. Let's go do the cargo now. Cargo is down here, 5.7. Ugh, two odd numbers. That's too much math for me right now. So let's do 5.7 divided by 2. 2.85. That's what we want there. So 2.85, so click the box, and that's going to be 2,850 pounds of cargo up front, 2,850 pounds of cargo in the back. Click outside the box, and then go and have a look here and see what we got. So the final weight and balances are zero fuel weight is 130.2. That's a little bit different, so we're going to update 130.2. So you would assume that maybe what we have here, this is sort of like your final load sheet. So, you know, ground crew just came in, handed the pilot, here's final load sheet, there you go. Okay, last step is going to be fuel. And for fuel, all we're going to do is look at the page 1 of the flight plan. 1, 2, there's page 1. Our fuel is 11,348 pounds fuel. So click fuel, and it's 11,348. Taxi fuel, that's in the same columns here. And taxi fuel, you're going to need that number, 735. And you're going to need trip fuel, which is 5,087 pounds. So we'll need both of those numbers. Taxi fuel is 735, so 735. And then we're going to do planned trip fuel is 5,087, 5087. Click outside the box, and now you're going to get a landing fee of a weight, and you're going to get a takeoff weight. Our takeoff weight's 148.44. 148.44. That's pretty close to what the flight plan gave us. In fact, it's off by less than 200, and that kind of reflects our heavier zero fuel weight, so feel pretty good about that. Let's come on over here, and we're going to set the fuel. We're going to set the payload. We're going to complete this. Your airplane's loaded, ready to go. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here, and let's do copy FMC data. Now we're going to do performance for takeoff. All right, so now we got a little bit of information here, but we know it's going to be runway 1. That's our departure runway. It's dry. These numbers it went and got, I don't know. Let's go and have a look. There's several things that we can look at here. So let's go ahead and grab ourselves a web browser here, and here we go. All right. Here is a website, link in the description below. This is FAA Digital ATIS. Works in the U.S. at the major airports. Wish it worked all over the world. It's pretty cool. Let's go to Denver. No, not Denver. No, Jackson Hole. Let's see. That's Jackson. Oh, we don't have Jackson Hole. Well, this isn't going to work. What else could we do? Let's go to something like FlightAware. KJAC, Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Let's go all the way to the bottom. There's all the flights. All the way to the, oh, look at that, Jackson Hole weather. So let's go ahead and just copy that little METAR there, And what we're going to do is put that METAR over in our flight notes. Okay, so we'll just do that. That works great. So let's see, what do we have for the wind? The wind in Jackson Hole is variable at 5 knots. So variable at 5 knots means I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab the runway heading, which is 007, perfect for the spy flight. So our wind is going to be, I'm going to give us a tailwind of 5 knots. So 007/5. Our outside air temperature is a -5 degrees. That was spot on. And our altimeter setting is 30.20. 30.20. And there's our numbers. Let's just go right over here to the altimeter. And let's put in 3020 before we forget. Really is nice to do that. The numbers are a little small. It's kind of hard to see. 302, up, that's 3002, wrong number, 3020. That's why I say the numbers out loud. Okay, 3020. Back to this. Okay, so takeoff rating. We're going to go ahead and start at the bottom. D rate -1, flaps config 5, air conditioning is on, anti-ice. It's pretty dry around here. We'll leave it off. And let's go ahead and hit the calculate button. Doesn't like that. Okay, next step. Let's kick the rating up to a D rate of -1. Didn't like that. All right, let's go ahead and do no D rate. And let's do flaps 1. Didn't like that. Okay, let's go ahead and try flaps 10. We're in trouble. Okay, how about flaps 15? Okay, there we go. Now we got some numbers here. So there we go. There's our setting. We start at the bottom so we can save money and wear and tear on the engines and stuff. But now we've got all the information that we need. So let's see. We're going to go flaps 15. We're going to go with a D rate of 40 degrees and D rate -1. So our selected temperature, let's execute this, and limits 40 degrees, takeoff -1, and takeoff. Over here, it's flaps 15, and our center of gravity is 21.1. So flaps 15, 21.1. Now when I click the 21.1, listen carefully. Let's turn up the airplane and listen. You hear the swish, the swoosh there? When you put that in, that set your stabilizer trim to take off. So that sets that for you. Very nice of them to cut back on our workload a bit. V1, it's 131, 132, 139. 131, 132, and was it 149? No, 139 is V2. 139. Good. There we go. Oh, that's great. Let's take that 139. We're going to pop it up here in the speed. 139. Runway heading is 007 on departure. A very nice runway heading, by the way. And there's no real climb clearance. We're not doing any departures or anything like that. So it's going to be runway 1 out the gate here after our departure. So we're going to be heading to the north here. So after our departure, we're going to want to make a turn. We can go over here and take a look at the sectional chart here. And this is going to give you some altitude. So over off to the right is 14,000. It's 11,000 here. So my guess is we're going to take off. Let's continue, go over the little lodge here, go over the lake, and come on back. Although probably they don't like us to go to the lake there. And then we'll loop-de-loop back on in. And then we'll head over to KICNE. Let's see if that works. So the highest altitude I see here is 14. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a climb clearance of, how about 17? There we go. I've got speed, heading, altitude. We've got the altimeter set in. I'm going to do flight directors. Now then, if you're one of those pilots likes to fly from the other side, from the co-pilot side, be sure you turn on the co-pilot flight director first. You see over here, this little light, this indicates that it's the pilot's side that's directing the airplane, okay? So there we go. Now we got to do a little rabbit hole here. The real pilots are required to do one other thing. Before departure, the real pilots are required to show landing. And this is the landing, and this is called dispatch landing. And what this is we're going to go ahead and copy the FMC data, which gives us the runway, 16 left at Denver International Airport. Now then, what we need to do is we need to go and get Denver weather. So we'll check the weather coming in. Let's go to that digital ATIS again. Denver's going to be there. So KDEN, Denver International Airport. And it looks like, what do we got? Winds 200 at 15, 10 miles visibility. It's clear and cool with the altimeter of 3008. So we know that it is dry in Denver. We know that the winds are 200 at 15. 200 at 15 knots. Our outside air temperature in Denver is 007. Lots of 007s today. Our altimeter is 3008. 3008. Click the QNH. 30.08. You gotta do the decimal point here. Okay. So let's see here. Our flap config, generally I like to land my 737s with flaps 30. Air conditioning is on. Got to keep those passengers comfy. Anti-ice will be off, and brakes will do auto brakes -2. And now let's calculate. Based on this, I need 8,168 feet of landing distance. So to make sure that we're really good pilots here, we're going to go to Denver, and we're going to look at our runway. We are expecting runway 16 left. I have a 12,000 foot runway. I need 8,000 feet. This means that we can take off, and our planned landing means we're legal to go. So we got that. I'm going to go back to the takeoff page now, and everything's looking pretty good. Passengers are actually aboard, so it's time to close the doors and get ready to go. Next step in our process is I'm going to flip the generator. So right now we're on ground power. Let's go and flip the two APU generator switches. APU generators are on. Old habit, generally, some of the older airplanes, you definitely wanted to make sure you flip the off switch on ground power, because sometimes when the ground crew would unplug the older airplanes, they get zapped if they didn't have the power switch off. So, you know, just we're trying to prevent zappage. Let's go to menu. System page, doors. I'm going to close the left front door now. Left front door is closing. All right, doors are now closed. Seatbelt sign is going on. I'm going to also turn on my 2 electric hydraulic pumps. Coming in over here, let's go back a page. We're going to go up to ground support. We are now done with the electric panel. Disconnect. And we're going to go to page 2, and we're going to remove the air stairs. Back to page 1. We did check the parking brakes are on. I'm going to remove my chocks. I'm going to hit set, and that clears that panel. We're going to come over here, and now we'll do the airport map. And you have a really nice airport map if you've got Navigraph, so that's good too. The IRSs are all ready to go, so all is right with the world here. We are on internal power and APU. That's good news too. If you look after all of our setup stuff over here at the pressurization panel, our flight altitude, 37,000 feet, just got set, and our landing altitude, Denver's altitude, 5,000 feet plus, has been set too. We're good there. Last thing I'm going to do is you can come over here, not mission critical, take the air temperature gauge, monitor the temperature gauge in the forward cabin, and it's about 77 degrees in the cabin right now. All right, we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a squawk code. So clear, 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 clear. Oh, you don't have to clear, just put in a new one. I am going to squawk 0007 because, you know, it's a spy thing. We're not on VATSIM right now, so, but it's a good thing to do. This thing always has itself on TARA. I'm going to go to transponder, but if I were on VATSIM, I would need to take this little switch and I would need to go to transponder on instead of auto. So I'm going to turn that on. At this point, in VATSIM language, we would be squawking mode Charlie on all taxiways, which is something they want us to do. And now it's time to go. Everything's good. The airplane's parked. I use pushback helper to get the airplane pushed around here. GSX looks really, really good. Their pushback engine is really awesome, but it's a little bit heavy on my old system here. So I've just been using pushback helper. It's free at flightsim.to. It works like a charm. No problems there at all. So there's our pushback. We're also going to come on over here, and I'm going to turn on the beacon. And remember what I was yapping about, the no smoking sign. So modern airliners, no smoking lights on all the time. They've changed this thing here, so all it is a switch, and I believe maybe even rings a bell. I'm not sure. So what you do, and one of the real world pilots has said over here, you've got 3 positions. We've got off, auto, and on. So right now the pilots use this, and you go and flip it up. If it's an off, the cabin's unsecured, it's a crazy party back there, right? Auto means the passengers' seatbelt sign is on, passengers are in their seats, but flight attendants are still up. And then when it's time to go, when the cabin is secured, passengers in their seats, flight attendants in their seats, ready to go, you then go to on. And that's how it is that that they know that sort of thing. So that's what that is. And you can hear the bell going off between off and auto. So that's what that thing's supposed to be all about. Ready to go? All right. So let's do a sit down in our chair. Make sure it's locked in. Feet on the rudder pedals. Look down over here. Tap the rudder pedals. Parking brakes are off. And out we go. There goes our cute little airplane. And you can also monitor from inside the airplane if you'd like to. We're going to runway 1, so we need to spin the airplane towards the north. We need to do that towards the north. So that's probably pretty good. Let's start a right turn. As that's going on, we can come on here and flip on our other 2 fuel tanks. Fuel pumps are on. The push is going pretty good. We may need to do a little bit of a sharper turn here. That looks good. And straighten out the push. And stop. Come on in here. This is a Boeing, so for parking brakes, toe brakes all the way down, pull the lever. Parking brakes are on. Come over here, release the tug. As soon as the tug goes away, you can turn off pushback helper, and it's worked like a charm. Time to start the engines. Okay, everything's good here. We're going to go and do packs off. Starting engine number 2 first. So that's going to be a ground start. Ground. Come on down here. So what's going to happen is the N2 starts spinning, 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 spinning. But the temperature in these modern engines is important. And it might be hot on the top and cold on the bottom or something like that. We want the temperature in the engine, everything to be the same temperature. So it's going to do what's called motoring. And aside from making you want to sing the song by Night Ranger, is it Night Ranger? I think. Motoring. Anyway, sorry. It's going to be motoring here for just a little bit to make sure that the temperature in the engine is all nice and good. And then when that goes off, we'll go and flip on the switch, the fuel switch, and engine 2 starts up. The start sounds on the airplane are pretty cool. It sounds good inside, outside, and inside. If you go to your cabin view, you just flip open the shade. By the way, the cabins are looking pretty good. You can see that my United livery has a United cabin, which is nice. If you're new to this flight sim thing and you saw, oh, wait a minute here, we've got no passengers in there. I thought you said the plane was loaded. It's loaded, it just doesn't draw people. because in the exciting world of Flight Simulator, people look a little creepy. It's not like Eva and Cassandra over in Assassin's Creed. Okay, here comes our N2 coming up here, and I pushed back the wrong way. Embarrassing for sure, but that's okay. We can spin it around very easily. Okay, motoring on engine number 1. And yes, that song is going, yeah, I think it was Night Ranger. Anyway, motoring. It usually takes about 30 seconds for the motoring to be done. And I'm not 100% sure on this. I think these airplanes, these engines are so automatic. You could flip the fuel switch. I believe before motoring is done. I kind of always wait. And there we go. And here comes engine number 1. Perfect chime if you have a cup of coffee to hydrate. And everything looks good here. Not a bad start on that engine too. Cool. Starter valve goes out. That thing flips over. Let's go ahead and turn packs on so we can keep the cabin comfy. Packs on look good. I'm going to flip the engine generator switches now. Transfer off the APU. That looks good. Now we're going to come on over here and we're going to turn off the isolation valve and the APU bleed. The probe heaters are automatic on this airplane, so we don't have to turn those on. But we will do the yawn damper because we don't want any of our passengers yawning back in the cabin. Okay, it's not the yawn damper, it's the yaw damper, but still, you get to have fun with that, right? Everything looks good to go down here. APU is done, so we're going to shut that off. I'm going to turn on my taxi light right now, and let's go ahead and spin the airplane around because somebody's going the wrong direction. So let's see, we're going to come over here, and let's do a tight turn. You got to get the airplane going pretty good to do these sharp 90-degree turns. And keep that up and running here. Sometimes you have to let the nose wheel go forward a bit to keep it going. That's the APU spinning down, I believe. Okay, pretty good. So we're rolling along here. Flaps 15, right? Flaps 1, 2, 5, 10. Flaps 15. Wow. Don't usually take off with flaps 15 like that. We're going to do VNAV and heading select off the runway. So that looks pretty good. Let's come on down here and we're going to do auto brakes to RTO. And as we're kind of going along, I'm going to take my throttles and run them up. Let's see if I've forgotten anything. Nope, it did not beep. That's sort of like if you're an Airbus captain, that we just hit the takeoff config button. So we're looking good there. All is right with the world here. For takeoff, we're going to go to continuous restart. Flight attendants called up. They said that they're in their seats, so we're going to go with that over there. And everything, I think, is pretty good. As we're taxiing, we're going to go ahead and hit the engine info, and that's going to crunch the engines down a little bit, all the display down. Let's also go airports, data, and traffic. That all looks good too. And so far, so good. Coming to the end of the runway. I think it's almost time to go. ATC called, said, guess what? You're clear to taxi onto the runway and hold. So line up and wait. So I'm going to go with the strobes now. Strobes are on. And out we go onto the runway here. Just like an Airbus, with my flight simulator controls, I am finding one of the best thing to do.
0, 1.
Yay, the airplane does talk to you and tell you about your runway. Okay, so here we go. We're coming on in straight over here. And look there. You see the second little post here? As soon as that's over the center of the runway, you're going to go ahead and do your sharp turn. And that way you don't lose a couple 100 feet of runway.
On runway 0, 1.
Looking good. How do we do? Well, not bad. I need a little more practice on that. Okay, landing lights going on. We're clear for takeoff. That all looks good. Final cabin call. Let everybody know we're getting ready to do the airplane thing. I'm going to turn off the wheel well lights now. Everything's good to go down here. We're going to go and start squawking Terra down there. All of that looks good. Let's go. I run my Airbus throttles, which is what I have, up about halfway. Check my engines and make sure they look good. Auto throttle is now on. And thrust for takeoff. And up and away. The airplane does have some call-outs. I wish all the payware airplanes had really good call-outs. 80 knots. Also, up to 80 knots, I think you push the nose gear down on the elevator just a little bit, so the nose gear is good.
V1.
Rotate. Come on, airplane, time to go. We're running out of runway. Not so bad. How about landing gear? Gear going up. So long, Jackson Hole. Okay, we decided we were going to kind of go this way on our departure, so we'll do a gentle turn over here. Lower the nose just a bit so we can start getting a little speed going on. That looks pretty good. Let's go this way a bit. Speed's coming up, flaps 10. Auto brakes. Let's get a little help from the autopilot here. I'm just centering up heading hold, command, heading hold, looking good there. It doesn't like my flap setting, I don't think. Doesn't like the flap setting. I'm getting an AP reset. I'm on command. Okay, let's start making a turn. Another set of flaps. Oh, didn't like VNAV. There we go. Let's start making a turn around here. Get on course. We got some hills over there, but we're probably going to be able to make our turn in this big valley. Remember that lake we were talking about? There's that lake. So we're climbing nicely, and we're going to be able to go over those little hills just fine. Let's make the map a touch bigger. Continue our turn around here. Speed's coming up. Flaps 5. Could have done flaps a little bit better, but we're doing okay at the moment here. Map's a little bit bigger. Continue your turn. And in fact, we could probably go and do 180 at the moment so that we can go direct to our waypoint. Map a little bit bigger. We should start to see that waypoint starting to show up. There it is. So keep turning, 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 turning. Flaps continue to go up. And now we're heading 197. That should get us basically to our first waypoint. Speed continues to go up. Flaps up. Auto brakes are off. Landing gear is up. Flaps are up. Speed brakes are down. Gears up. That looks pretty good. Passengers enjoying the incredibly nice view of Jackson Hole as we do our departure. Didn't bump into any of the mountains either. The airplane is a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed learning. The electronic flight bag is apparently the old Boeing style. It's different from, you know, the electronic flight bags that you're going to find for us, like the PMDG 737, and I think that that's kind of fun. Okay, we are now headed to KICNE. We've got about 20 miles to KICNE, so let's go to, legs. I'm going to go KICNE and execute. That's a direct to and LNAV. Now LNAV is our friend. And the computer's got us. Looking good. Everything's good here as we continue the climb. We're going to look up here and make sure that the cabin is indeed climbing a little bit. Pressurization is important. Up past 15, we 10,000 feet landing lights, nose light, and 10,000 foot cabin call. That's when the flight attendants get on the PA and remind the passengers, hey, the seatbelt sign's on, you still have to stay in your seats. Over here, I'm going to go with legs. Over here, I'm going to go to VNAV. And out we go. So this is all looking really good. Let's see. Let's go ahead and continue the climb to flight level 370. We're getting a nice departure out of Jackson Hole today. 37,000 feet to Denver. There is 37,000 feet. Coming up on 18,000 feet, that's the time to flip over to standard altimeter, 2992 for inches of mercury. I was a bad pilot. I forgot to set my backup. So we should have set that to inches. It's already set to standard now. The backup altimeter police are going to get me. After about 200 feet after the transition set, it'll turn orange. So standard. That looks good. And we continue to do our thing. We are over on the progress page, 372 miles away from Denver. At the moment, scheduled to land at 18:01 Zulu time. I'm flying real time. And right now the computer says we'll have 5,700 pounds of fuel in the tank. We said FinRes and alternate fuel is 4.2. So we're doing pretty good now. Next thing that I'm going to do to get ready for landing, yeah, we're still climbing, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the fix page, and I'm going to go to KDEN, Denver International Airport. And what I want to do is I want to put some circles and lines on my flight, on my map, on the navigation display. So we're going to go and get the reciprocal of our landing runway. We're landing on 16 left, which is 173. The reciprocal heading is 353. So I'm going to go and do a heading of 353 degrees / 5 miles. That's going to give me an extended center line on that runway and draw a ring around the airport at 5 miles. Now I'm just going to go do / and 10 miles. And I'm going to go do / and 25 miles. Now there's a whole thing about the 25-mile range rings there. And that's one of the things that you would do is you would look over here at your ILS chart, and you would instead use this little circle here, and instead of Denver Airport, you'd use the Denver VOR. And some of them have a whole lot of little lines there so that you can avoid mountains and everything else and other obstructions. I like doing that. The thing is it makes my map really, really messy. And I have a hard time seeing stuff on the map already, you know, on a flight simulator map already, so I'm not doing that right now. There is KICNE passing 2,300. I'm going to now go and do the no smoking to auto. Let flight attendants know they can get up and start getting the cabin ready for stuff. I'm going to make my map a little bit bigger. And I'm going to move my heading bug around here to follow my little magenta line here, in case the autopilot has, you know, a nutty or something like that, has a hissy fit. I at least know what heading to fly while I figure out why the autopilot is upset. And don't forget to look out the windows. I'm not kidding. Looking out the windows especially with the scenery now. And I'm just a few weeks away from the release of the new Microsoft Flight Simulator, where the detail out there is supposed to be a lot better. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that's going to be like too. Looking pretty good here, 25,000 feet. We'll go to seatbelts to auto now. Should anybody back there have had too much coffee, that means that they're free to go and do, you know, that lavatory thing. Have you heard about this airplane? Come on back to the cabin. Had a little too much coffee. You can come back in here. Yes, they modeled the lavatories. Open the lid, do your business. Ah, the flush sound works. Close the lid. Be sure and use a little soap and water. We don't want to be, you know. Close that. Come on back here. Okay. Coffee has now been recycled. Yes, they actually modeled the lavatories in this airplane. How about that? Okay, looking pretty good. 27,000 feet. Everything looks great here. Other things that we could do to get ready. This is going to be a quick flight here down to Denver. So as we look on here, the next thing we could do is start setting up the approach. And here, we're going to go and use the ILS for runway 16 left, which is 111.1. So, come on down here, switch it to ILS, 11110, make that active. Now, if it was really, really busy, I also know that Denver is also landing on 16 right and 17 left, I think. Excuse me, sorry, that was nasty. So I would also probably set the ILS for 16 right. And I would set, you know, what I think what might be the other runway that they might bump me over toward too. I would set that one as a second frequency. So if while we're really busy on approach, ATC on VATSIM calls and says, oh, we're going to switch you over to 16 right. I hit one button and we're groovy. Come on over here. I'm going to set the co-pilot's radio. The co-pilot's radio, we're going to come over here and I'm going to set that up with the VOR. Okay, so what do we got? There's the Denver VOR here, and I think we've also got, I think that, well, we'll use Denver. So 117.9. What this is going to do is down here, I've got VOR 1, that's set to my ILS. VOR 2 is set to the Denver VOR. We're going to pick up the Denver VOR and get distance to Denver a lot sooner than we're going to pick up the ILS. So this is going to give me a distance to Denver, which is nice. Next thing I'm going to do to get ready for my arrival is I'm going to put in our inbound course heading, which here is going to be 173 degrees. So let's go over here and we'll just do 173. And fortunately, these numbers spin around pretty quick, which is nice. Next, we're going to cheat a little bit. Whoops. So for an ILS landing like this, you're supposed to use, for your minimums, baro instead of radio. The thing is to get what our minimums for this is just 5,557 feet. It is going to take for freaking ever to sit here with your mouse wheel and click and click and click and click to set that baro. Just not going to do that. Sorry. I don't want to wear out the mouse wheel. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to use radio, and I'm going to set the radio, which is 200 feet. That's that second number here. That's the baro. That's the radio altimeter. That's not the way you do it in the real world. That's the way I'm doing it in the sim. And I'm going to sleep just fine tonight knowing that. But hopefully someday they make it a little bit easier for us to spin that around to put in a really big number like that, and we can do it properly. Passing 33,000 feet now. Make my map just a touch bigger. And there is TOFUU. That's the beginning of the arrival. It's almost time for descending almost. We are 24 miles from top of climb. On the progress page, we are 314 miles from Denver. We got a minute back. Now we're landing at 1800 Zulu. Very nice. All of this is pretty well set. Up 10,000 feet, we don't need continuous restart anymore. Those can go off. If we were after takeoff, we would have turned off the logo light. We want to be good pilots too. You could also see that the pressurization, the cabin's climbing, pressure in the cabin. We've got about we're pressurized to about 7,000 feet, it looks like right now, back there in the cabin. So not causing any big bad headaches for our passengers. I'm also going to go, if I was on VATSIM now, I would be coming over here and taking a look at the Flatiron arrival and expecting VATSIM ATC to at some point say, United 441, descended pilot's discretion on the Flatiron for arrival, Denver landing south. Okay, so that means that we can descend when we want to, but for a south landing, we already know that we're going to get runways 16 left and right and 17. So Tichenor is our number. So basically, when they tell me to descend, I'm going to put in 13,000 feet in the altimeter window. Not going to do it yet. We're still climbing. We got about 2,000 feet to go. But there you go. This is so cool. You've got your elapsed timer. It automatically starts an elapsed timer clock for you, which is nice. Up, there we go. 1,000 feet to go. Now, if we were a little bit longer, one of the things that I would be doing is regular fuel checks. And for that, you would need the flight plan. Our next waypoint is going to be, I believe it's TOFUU. So let's find TOFUU. Here's TOFUU right here in the flight plan. And TOFUUs, there's two numbers that I would look at. There's a whole lot of numbers you're supposed to, but two numbers. One is the time. We're supposed to be 29 minutes into our flight at TOFUU. And the other number is when we get to TOFUU, we're supposed to have 6,900 pounds of fuel in the tanks. So those are the two numbers. The little dots that you see, that's where the pilots are supposed to write in the actual numbers on the plan. That's part of the thing that they do, is they write those numbers in so that you can see how you're doing. You know, make sure the computers are accurate. Looks like we are 103 miles from TOFUU. We're going to get there at 1734 Zulu. It is now 1722 Zulu. So we've got a few minutes here. And really, though, at this point in time, we're doing pretty good. We've got the airplane ready for our descent. Pretty much. We've got everything ready for the ILS, pretty much. The upper panel is in good shape. We've checked pressurization. Temperature in the cabin's about 77 degrees, so they're comfy and pressurized. The airplane appears to be super duper happy. Fuel is in good shape. We think we're going to be fine there. Nothing interesting on the radio. So I tell you what, the next thing we're going to look for is our top of descent. And right here on my map, there's the 80-mile range. So when I see the little top of descent green dot start to show up here, and it gets to 80 miles, then what we're going to do is pause the video and start the video. So if you're flying along with me, one of the things to do is pause the video when I pause, and when your top of descent hockey stick, or dot, I guess, this isn't an Airbus, it's going to be a dot. The green top of descent dot appears at 80 miles. Start the video again. Otherwise, you're just going to have to sit here and listen to me tell really, really, really bad jokes for far too long. And that's just not a good time. So, go outside the airplane, on our way to Denver. See you at 80 miles from top of descent. Welcome back, and that top of descent looks like it's pretty close to 80 miles to me. Hey, thanks for sticking around. I hope you are, if you're flying along with me, that your flight's going pretty good. Really didn't do too much of anything while you were all gone, but if you look down here, you can see that we're 82 miles from top of descent and we're 11 miles away from TOFUU. So remember over here, TOFUU, we're supposed to be 29 minutes into the flight and we're supposed to have 6,900 pounds of fuel aboard. Well, we're 27 minutes into the flight right now. We're 9 miles away from TOFUU and I have 7,600 pounds of fuel. So it looks to me like we're maybe a minute or two ahead of the flight, and we've got a little bit more than, I'd say, well, a little less than maybe 500 pounds of extra fuel, I'm guessing is what we need in the flight plan. So our little checkup on the fuel is pretty good at the moment. So let's see here. What are some of the things that we need to do now? Next thing to do, let's go and use Digital Latest here. I just got the latest weather information. Denver Information Yankee, still on the same runways. 200 at 15 knots, that's our winds. 10 miles visibility, clear skies 8 degrees, the altimeter 3008. So remember, before we took off, we decided that we were good to go and good to land. Let's go back to payload and performance. We're going to go back to landing, and this was our dispatch landing. Now we're going to do the en route chart. Show en route, okay? And what we'll do is I'm going to copy the FMC data again, which should give us an updated landing weight. It did. Still expecting 16 left. It is dry in Denver. The winds, again, are 200 at 15, 200 at 15 knots. The temperature in Denver is now 8 degrees, and the altimeter is 3008, 30.08. Okay, there's the latest weather. Reverser configuration. Our reverser configuration is all in up, one in up, or all in up. Another way to look at that is, are you going to go full reversers, no reversers, or just idle reverse? And I usually have been doing idle reverse now, so I just go all in up for an idle reverse landing. I'm going to still do flaps 30 aircraft. AC is on, anti-ice is on, auto brakes is on, non-normal. The non-normals are which doesn't work. All flaps up, loss of system this, loss of system that, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria, or nothing at all. So we're going to go to none and complete. And now everything's filled in. I'm going to add 5 knots to the VREF, and it says we still need about 7,500 feet to land. We got a 12,000 foot runway, and VREF plus 5 knots is 144, and all that looks good. So we're good to land. Looking pretty good there. We are getting close to our top of descent now, so I'm going to re-update my heading bug and put it right on the under the course triangle. There we go. So that's good. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the map click here. It's starting to get a little bit busy there. Top of descent is coming in. Remember earlier when we looked at the arrival, the Flatiron 4 arrival, it said at Tichenor 13,000 feet. So we're going to say ATC called and said 13,000 feet. So let's go to 13,000 feet over here. The airplane, if you've got everything set up, it's going to start your descent by itself. You don't have to push a button and tell the airplane to do its thing. Only other things that I'm going to probably look at now is remind myself our gate assignment at the moment is Bravo 17. So over to parking gates. There's parking gates. Bravo 17 is on the north side of the Bravo concourse. So we're going to look at Bravo November coming in, and it's on the west side. That's where the real world flight from Jackson Hole is landing. So we now know generally where we're going to be parking to. Pre-looking at stuff like this really does help. You know, when you're sitting bored in the cockpit waiting for ATC to do something, and then, you know, you're coming into Chicago on a Friday night ops and you're really, really busy, looking at that now really helps. Another thing that really helps is pre-tuning your radios. So if you're going to be coming in, listen ahead and see if you could figure out, okay, it looks like they're sending us all from center to Denver arrivals, and that's 124 point whatever. So if you could preset your standby frequency as you're going along, that just reduces your workload. Remember, these cockpits are set up for 2 people. And there's a reason why, lots of reasons why there's two pilots up in the cockpit. Not just so that the other one can sit there and do the radios, but, you know, having someone to do the radios is really kind of nice to have. Okay, so all of this looks good. Top of descent is now 40 miles. Everything's good to go up here. No lights beeping, no buzzers buzzing, so all is right with the world. We're still pressurized to about 7,000 feet in the cabin, so passengers are not complaining. Okay, I'm sure there's somebody back there that'll figure out some reason to complain, but you know, not about anything important. And what do we got? Everything else is good. So now we're just in the middle of a little bit of a waiting game here. Let's see, the 737 NGs, the older ones that you get from PMDG, the NGs, apparently you don't arm the speed brakes for landing, but in this one you do. And so to do that, what you would do is come on down here, and there's the speed brake. If you move it just a bit, see how it kind of clicks up, and you know they're armed because if you look up here, you can see that the speed brakes are armed. Now, I'm going to go ahead and disarm them because I have a feeling I'm going to need them when we come into Denver. Some of this gets a little bit steep as you come over the front range, and you know, these airplanes are a little slippery going down. So one of the things is you might need to use a little speed brake on this one for our descent. Nothing really else to worry about here. We could go over to the forecast page, and let's go to the forecast page and see if we could get our descent winds. See if the descent winds are going to show up today. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I'm not 100% sure if they work or not. Nope, it's an invalid. So what do? One of the things that you could do is you could go to your flight plan and you could continue down. Oh, one too many pages. About page 6, there's your descent winds. So why don't we get descent winds for flight level 310, flight level 200, and flight level 100. Why don't we go grab those? So flight level 310. How about flight level 200 and 100? We'll do those. So flight level 310 over here, the winds are 271 at 39. So 271 degrees at 39 knots. All right, flight level 200 is 281 at 24. 281 at 24. And 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet is 220 at 009. And we'll go ahead and execute that. This is also where you could set your transition altitude. So we'll just leave that alone, 18,000 feet. And we're 14 miles from top of descent. It is currently 1741 Zulu. We're going to do that at 1743 Zulu. So we got about 2 minutes. So if you ever wonder how it is that the pilots know to start their pre-descent announcement, and it happens almost immediately after they turn it off, that's how they know. So they'd say, well, we're about ready to start our descent into Denver International Airport. The temperature is, the winds are, looks like, we can leave the seatbelt sign on for about another 10 minutes. Thank you for flying with, okay. I would be a terrible airline pilot. My nickname would be Captain Sarcastic. So anyway, we're good to go here. All this is nice, but one of the things is as we come down, I'm going to go to the transponder, and I have above, normal, and below. I forgot to set it above for the flight. Now I'm going to go for below. I want to see stuff that's below us as we start our descent for other airplanes. And looking pretty good. I'm going to make the map a little bit bigger now because it's about to start getting super duper busy. Top of descent is 3 miles. And now what we do, we've got everything set up. We sit back and watch the show. I did get extra coffee while we were going. I forgot to bring over popcorn for the show. Always good to have coffee for your descent. Does this airplane, I know the Airbuses have cup holders. Oh, well, look, we got cup holders here. Very nice. We've got cup holders. Cool. Up there we go, descent. So one of the things that we've got that came in here is our descent deviation gauge. This says, are we above or below our descent path? And usually it takes a little bit for it to stabilize itself. You'll also get descent deviation here too. And it'll kind of go there. And you want it to be, you know, kind of in the middle there. It doesn't have to be exact. If you're a little bit high and the airplane starts to, you know, do a nosedive, you're going to notice that your speed's going to go up a bit. So that's when you might need speed brakes. Everything else is looking good. Our descent is nice. It also gives you your vertical deviation. So my vertical deviation is I'm about 50 feet too high. But you can see it's coming back down awfully fast. Always not to be too deviant, I guess. And now we're right in the middle. Our speed isn't going up or down too much, so we're doing good. We do have a deceleration coming up here at Hippie. Chances are that's going to be, what, about 280 knots? Yeah, it hit, no, 280 knots at Hippie. And we'll stay at 280, 270 at Flatiron, Eldo's 250, and 210 knots at Tichenor. This is a really pretty good descent arrival into Denver too. I think of probably all the descents and arrivals that I've done in flight sim over the years, the Lakes arrival into Austin and Flatiron into Denver are the ones I've probably done the most. Lakes arrival into Austin, you're going to need speed brakes. That's a little on the steep side for some airplanes. But this one is a nice gentle descent into Denver, which is nice. You've also got some incredible views outside your airplane coming in here as we come in over the front range of Colorado. And now that it's wintertime here, you're really going to start to see some nice scenery outside the airplane's windows. Got a few clouds out here south of us right now. Give you an idea, we're north of the I-70 corridor going out of Denver, going past the Eisenhower tunnels, Copper Mountain, and Glenwood Springs. So it looks like those clouds are going to stay pretty much to the south of us today. Denver, as of the time that I'm recording this, a couple of days ago, got a big pre-winter dump of snow all over it. And so they're probably today still doing some digging out. Airport's probably in good shape. The roads getting to the airport are probably a mess. And everything looks good here. I just updated my heading. Now we're 3 feet low. Over here, we decided that we're going to do auto brakes too. So it's kind of hidden behind the speed brake handle. Auto brakes are 2. So we'll preset that. While we're doing that, I will just do my speed brake handle. Make sure that the light is on, but you know, that way we know that the speed brakes haven't actually been deployed or anything, but they are indeed armed. So those are ready to go. Passing 28,000 feet. And everything's good there. We are 90 miles from Denver now. Looks like we're landing 2 minutes after 1800 Zulu. This is usually the point when we've started our descent. We're all set for the arrival and everything, and this is when I start doing all the things that people on YouTube are supposed to do. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you coming on over here. I spend most of my time live streaming flight sim with friends over on Twitch. We've got an incredible, cool group of people that fly along. Every day that we fly on Twitch is fly along day, so you can bring your own simulator, your own airplane. We do a couple of multiplayer flights just because we've got new people coming in, and that's a little bit of a simpler flight, but we spend most of our time over on VATSIM. Anyone is welcome. It is a great community of really cool people that are just passionate about aviation and travel And over the years that the spy flight's been going on, have become some incredibly good, genuine friends. So in these days that we're all living in, if you're looking for a nice, positive place to be, please come on over and give us a try. Twitch TV/757spy. If you did like this, I'm relatively new and not very big here on YouTube. Would certainly like to get a little bit bigger, of course, like everybody would. So if you did like what you saw, of course, please hit the like button. If you have a friend that you think might enjoy this, please share that with them. If you really liked it, you could also, there's a Ko-fi button if you use Ko-fi. If you liked it, please come on over to Twitch. I'm one of those people that got shoved aside by my career, so this is how I keep my lights on. So if you dropped a sub or two over there, I'd really appreciate it. And if you really like what you're seeing every day before we do the spy flight on Twitch, about 12 hours before, I do a morning video on Patreon. It is a pre-flight video as we go through the charts of our first flight. We also go through the VATSIM events that we're going to be flying in that day. It's usually about a 6-minute video, and if you came over and supported me over on Patreon, I would be very, very grateful for that as well. Later on today, we're going to be flying, our first flight is in Norway. We're departing out of Bodø, heading up to one of my favorite towns that I've never been to, Tromsø. That is in northern Norway right now. The snowflakes are already flying there, and it is a particularly good place to go if you would like to spend some time enjoying the show, also known as the Aurora Borealis or the Northern Lights. And we probably will see the simulated Northern Lights in the sim on that flight today too, because the weather for that is starting to look like it's going to be really nice. So I think I've said all the YouTube and Twitch and Patreon things that you're supposed to say. Okay, we did drop down to 280. Our next speed is 270 as we come up on Flatiron. And you can see, yeah, there's 270 there. Our altitude constraints are looking really good. So all of that looks great. Airplanes being good. 25,000 feet, now's the time that I usually will come over here and seatbelt signs going on. We're going to go and switch no smoking to auto, letting the pilots know that the passengers are in their seats, but flight attendants are still up. Everything else is good to go down here. The altimeter setting, this is something I really like in a Boeing. The altimeter is 3008, right? So it says standard there, right? So standard there. And up here, we're going to dial in 3008. What we're doing is you can preset your altimeter, which I think is really, really cool in the Boeing. Now we've got our altimeters preset to 3008. And so at a time when you're really, really busy, especially in European airspace, where the transition altitude's a lot lower than 18,000 feet like in the United States, and you're really, really busy, all you got to do is hit a button and your altimeters are set. I think that that's really pretty awesome. And so 3 cheers to Boeing for that. I think in the A380 you can preset an altimeter too. I wish you could do that all across the board. Just preset your altimeter and you're ready to go. Now it could be that Mr. Airbus has a reason for doing things the way they do with the altimeter settings, but again, it reduces pilot workload. And at the busiest times of the flights, I think that reducing workload is a really smart idea, so that the pilot can concentrate on looking out, no airplanes out there, we're good, and the 100 other things that they need to be doing as they get ready to land. Coming up on 18,000 feet for our setting there. Everything looks good. Says it needs a little bit of drag here. Yeah, we're going fast. So speed brake's going out. Need to start slowing it down. And you can see we've got our speed brakes out on the wings. Sorry about the sniff. We're starting to get the cold weather stuff, and my furnace just came on, and furnaces get a little bit dusty. Uh-oh. We're not slowing down as fast as the airplane wants, so maybe we'll kick up a little bit more. Could slow down a little bit more there, airplane. 18,000, so you can see it's changed to orange. Let's go and hit the standard button, 3008. And let's come over here and hit that button and 3008 on the backup. I believe that this airplane just sets the co-pilot. There's 3008 over there. And the co-pilot's set to 3008. Really nice. Okay, we are definitely fast right now. Speed brakes are way out. I'm going to go ahead and do speed intervention. I've done something wrong. It wants to be at 210, but it's picking up speed. We must be a little bit high on this. ATC is probably going to be screaming at me, so you're going too fast. Okay, finally got the memo. It's not always instantaneous. No, it's still trying to descend awfully fast. I think I missed something. We are definitely a bit on the speedy side here. We should be hitting 13,000 feet at Tichenor. So that's good, but yeah, the speed's really high. And remember the range rings that I was yammering about earlier? You can see a really good example. There's the 25-mile range ring. There's the 10-mile, and the green dashed line. That's my extended center line for the runway. That extended center line thing, wow, is that nice, especially when you are just going visual. You know, when you turn off the autopilot and making a visual landing, it just gives you another frame of reference to take a look at and say, yep, we're doing pretty good. I also like to set a ILS if it's available, even if I'm doing a visual landing, because we're looking at a computer screen here, right? It's flat. We have got no real depth perception and stuff as we're looking at that. So having descent, you know, a descent indicator, how are you doing on your descent, is a really nice thing. Hey, look at this. The airspeed's finally decided to start slowing down. And let's come on over here, and we're going to click the range in a bit. I'm going to go ahead and increase, decrease my altitude, and I'm going to say 7,000 feet, because at this point maybe ATC is going to say, United 441, you need to make a right turn, intercept the localizer, and descend on the flight path. They don't talk like that. I don't know what's going on. I'm feeling weird today. If you forget your flap speeds are right here. So flaps 1 is 250 knots, 2 is 250, flaps 5, 250 knots, flaps 10 at 210. So we're at 230. I say, how about flaps 5? That's going to help us with a little bit of drag here a bit. There's flaps 5. I'm going to put my speed brakes away now. And you notice after putting the speed brakes away, the two lights are out. You have to look down here and rearm it. I'm going to look back up, make sure, yep, they're armed. Continuing our descent now. And 210, looking pretty good. From here, let's go over to init ref. I like to do a flaps 30 landing. So flaps 30 landing is 139. I might add a knot to that. I almost always do. And you can see a really good area where some of the snow was in Denver. North of Denver really wasn't a big deal. But pretty much, I think, Greeley on south, some people got a winter hammering. There's the arrival, the airport. So we're going to be exiting to the left. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to zoom this all the way in and set this off to the side, and that's going to be my ground chart when it's landing time. We're looking pretty good here coming on in. I'm going to reset this bug. If you're on a particularly busy VATSIM event, one thing to also look at is missed approach. If they call going missed, so climb to 5,900 feet, make a right turn to 12,000 feet, and go to the front range VOR, and then hold at front range. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue, and then over here, and we're holding at Bruce. Okay. Always like to look at that and see what that is. We're starting to get some go-arounds and stuff these days. And we are 26 miles from Denver. Let's go ahead and hit the VOR localizer button now. That's going to get us fine-tuned on the localizer a bit. Our descent is still going good. There's 10,000 feet, flight attendant seats for landing. Landing lights going on at 10,000 feet. I'm going to get that taxi light going. Continuous restart in case we run into some chilly stuff, some icy air, and we have to go around. Looking good there. Descent deviation is still good. Not receiving the ILS, so that's why it is that I decided to dial in that 7, because we'll pick it up here. That's the 10-mile range ring and the 5-mile range ring. We're already at 210 knots. I like to be about 210 knots at 10 miles and 280 knots by 5 miles. Usually a little bit more than that, depending upon the arrival. So we're going to hold 10,000 feet here at Joe Bob. Make sure we continue to go on down. And if you look really carefully, you can see the runways. Denver's just right on the snow zone, isn't it? The airport. I would imagine that probably, what, Loveland up here didn't get hammered. Maybe even Boulder, but Denver probably did. And I'm guessing that went all the way down to Monument and Colorado Springs. Still looking good. Aha, look at this. I've got a little diamond here. That means we're picking up the ILS. I'm going to flip this over to the approach now. No shame at on using the autopilot to come in like this. Again, if you're on a big VATSIM event and it's just going crazy and everything, you're just one person here. I definitely use the autopilot. If you'd like a little immersion, go to the airport map over here. The airport map on that's kind of cool to use too. Okay, over on Twitch, this is about the time that everybody flying along with me reminds us to do a posture check, i.e. put your chair where it's supposed to be. So if you've got rudder pedals, you can do rudder pedals. Get the microphone out of the way so you can see. And we're looking pretty good. ATC usually says right now about 180 knots until 5 miles DME. So we're going to start to slow it down a bit. We're below 210 knots, so flaps 10. Denver looks so nice. How about wheels? Wheels coming down. And looking good there. And now you can see, you know, when, you know, they almost always like to do about 180 knots until 5 miles DME. That 5-mile range ring is just so helpful to say, yep, that's what we need. Still letting the airplane do the work here simply because we have to set frequencies for ground. ATC may tell us to do something. So I don't take control from the autopilot
2500
until I'm like 100% done. And, you know, everything's preset. Usually about the time we go over to tower, if there's ground, I'll set the ground frequency in, and then I'll go ahead and kick off the autopilot. At this point down here, there comes our 5-mile range ring. In this case, they would have probably said 180 to Leeds. So 180 to Leeds, approach ref is 139. So we'll go ahead and dial this down to a 139. So there comes our speed. I'm also going to look over here at the wind arrow. Says the wind's from the right blowing us to the left. It looks like it's a bit variable. Flaps going out. And it's obviously a bit on the bouncy side here today. Flaps continuing to roll out. We're going to go flaps 30, so it's not full flaps. For me, full flaps in the 737, just like full flaps in the Airbus, the A319, 20, and 21, means I'm going to float down the runway. Okay, looking good here. Flaps are good. Gear down 3 green. Auto brakes, speed brakes. Autopilot going off. Autopilot's going off. This does not auto trim like an Airbus.
1,000.
Auto throttle's going off. Especially when it's gusty like this, the auto throttles in the flight simulators can end up going kind of crazy. So I will usually go ahead and just, you know, run the thrust myself. Keep an eye on my airspeed. I'm a touch fast right now. You heard the little swish. I do use the trim to help us out a little bit too.
500.
Trim off a little pressure. We're a touch high now. Definitely getting high. We'll pull the throttles a touch
400.
too.
300.
Coming down a little
Approaching
fast.
Minimums.
Landing.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Going for a little butter here. Butter. Okay, idle reverse. So I've just turned on my reversers and barely moved the throttles forward. Missed one high speed, no big deal. 80 knots, stow the reversers, auto brakes off. Let's go ahead and grab this high speed. Speed brake's going down. Welcome to Denver.
Caution, on taxiway, on taxiway.
Yeah, that's where we're supposed to be right now, voice. I think that some voices just like to yell at pilots. And welcome to Denver. Looks like we got a couple of scenery errors here. We didn't scratch the paint on the airplane though. And let's see, flow, which is the number you see in the upper left-hand corner, says the landing rate was minus 197. A little bit gusty winds like that, hey, no big deal. Next thing I'm going to do is turn off the landing lights. We're going to reach over here and get the strobes off too. We're going to do the continuous restart off, APU going on. We are looking for Bravo November. We're on the north side of the Bravo concourse, so that's good. While we're at it, let's go ahead and do the transponder to TA only, as we're here too. Come on over here. All this is looking pretty good. APU's coming on up. If it were nighttime, we would have probably turned on the logo light on coming in. Let's see. Don't have the map up right now, but I do have my moving map over here, which is really nice. So here's Charlie November. That's the north side taxiway of the Charlie Concourse. We're going to go in at Bravo November. Although in big VADSIM events, they usually have us come in at Charlie Sierra for all the United flights into Denver. They usually have us do that one and hold before we talk to ramp. And maybe that's the way that should happen there. So there's Charlie Sierra right over there. There's our gate. Yep, Charlie Sierra. So let's go ahead, slow down. We want about 10 knots of ground speed for a 90-degree turn, just like most jetliners. The last VATSIM event that we did in Denver, they also had ramp control. They're really getting some great VATSIM ATC these days. So this would have been the point when you crossed this line over here, we would have gone over to ramp control. And we would have waited a little bit and then gone into the gate. We'll get rid of the auto throttle disconnect warning. Everything's good down here. Everything's pretty good over here. And this was it. This was a fun flight. 3 cheers to iFly. I think they put together a fabulous airplane right now. It is an awful lot of fun. I've been enjoying this a lot. They haven't even done an update on it yet, which is neat. Okay, how we doing? There's Bravo 17. I took the turn a little too early. When in Denver, at the Bravo Concourse on the west end, there's a little place called Etais, I believe. And if you're doing a morning flight into Denver and you've got time, their breakfast sandwich is good. And if you like Bailey's in your coffee, Usually the second one sometimes is free. They're very nice. And how about that? We made it. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was arrested. What a good time. And I think for a 737, we're going to probably stop right about there. I'm not sure. I can't read the paint there, but that's probably right it. So, parking brakes going on. Come on up here. We're going to go ahead, and I usually check the APU. That's when I flip the generators over, and then we'll go ahead and go off and off. Transponder's going to go off as well. Seat belts can go off. We're also going to do leave one fuel pump on over there, and we'll do the beacon going off too. Now we can go and get pushback helper and pushback helper just to get a jetway. And here comes our jetway. And this airplane is really cool. You could go and unload the airplane. You could do a complete flight, you know, and just stay in the airplane, stay on VATSIM, and get ready for a second flight, which is exactly what would happen with this one. So we made it. Jetway's coming on in. It'll even open up your front door. Thank you so much for flying. I hope that the cold and darks are something that work out really well for you, and you're able to take some of my things that I'm doing and make it a little easier in your simulator. I'm still, like I said, pretty new on YouTube. I'm still reading all the comments. I appreciate the likes and the comments. If there's a cold and dark flight you'd like to see me do, please leave a comment down below. And again, please feel free. I hope you'll come over and visit with us over on Twitch sometime. In the meantime, as always, like I say at the end of a Twitch flight, please stay healthy, stay safe. I'll see you in the friendly sim skies sometime soon.